Tonight on News 5 Live, as much as $1 million in losses after 5 days of power outages and water shortage on Caulker. A family of 11 lost their home in a fire in New Year's Day in Cotton Tree. Meanwhile, in Belize City, a mother of 3 is clinging to life at the KHMH after receiving burns to almost 50% of her body. The Attorney General has harsh words for the PUP leader, John Briceño. He wants the evidence to support drug plane allegations. And the BNTU declares January 6th as Green Day to kick off the list of activities in 2020. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
No tricks.
Welcome to News 5 Live for Friday, January 3rd. I am Marlene Cuellar. 5 days of water and electricity outages on the island of Caulker have resulted in massive financial losses. While the two utilities have been restored, the economic impact is adding up. At a meeting with residents today convened by the Belize Tourism Board, the losses are expected to exceed $1 million. The private sector and residents are feeling the pain and looking for viable solutions as the high tourism season gets underway. News 5's Isani Caetano reports.
The concerns of many on the island of Caulker, including residents, business owners, and guests, were once again brought to the attention of the government of Belize via a stakeholder meeting this morning. Organized and hosted by the Belize Tourism Board, the forum allowed for all affected parties to vent their frustrations following a turbulent week during which scores of visitors vacated the island due to intermittent power outages and a shortage of potable water.
When we lost power, my boyfriend has a heart condition. So I'm wondering, going forward, what are we doing for people that have health conditions that are urgent? There's nothing on the island. There's no generating stations. There's no cooling stations. People who have medications that need to be refrigerated. I myself don't look so good because my EpiPens were spoiled. And I'm reacting from the samples. So not only have I lost money, I lost time, and I almost lost my boyfriend. And I'm sure there are other people on this island who have health conditions that are similar. What are we supposed to do? And I want to know, I'm not even sure who I would speak to about this.
It is among the many concerns coming out of a most miserable experience where basic utilities provided for everyone on the island were cut off for various reasons beyond the control of the respective companies. Having fully appreciated what went terribly wrong at a critical juncture in the village's economic state of affairs, the chief executive officers of both utility companies, BEL and BWS, addressed measures that will be taken in the days ahead.
We would order an additional unit, new brand, and that should be in here. Now, I want to admit that we had not planned to have it in place by 2 to 3 weeks' time, but we definitely had planned to have it in place before the Easter. But now we have already expedited delivery, and that should be here 2 to 3 weeks' time and up and running. But in the meantime, we have only 3 units of the 4 that are in service. There's one that is down, and the timeline for bringing that back into service is either 3 days or 2 to 3 weeks. It's an electrical problem with the rotor, and we have not been able to determine fully. We have technicians working on it right now, determining the extent of the problem.
BEL's team of technicians are working feverishly to solve the issue of intermittent power outage. Meanwhile, BWS is anticipating that with the arrival and subsequent installation of a new shaft, that full water pressure for commercial and residential use will be restored on Caulker.
We're pleased to say that we're now at full pressure, and one of the brand new shafts that we have gotten them to rush will land in country on Tuesday. So we're crossing our fingers and toes that we're good at least until that one is in. Yeah? But so far, the team, I think, has done exemplary work. As most of you are aware, things break down, cars have mechanical problems, blown tires, boats, the engines conk out at sea. There are certain things you just can't plan for even with regular maintenance.
Losses, notwithstanding measures that are now being taken by the utilities to rectify the problems, will be staggering. This in mind, will the companies face any consequences for these costly hiccups?
We've seen where financial penalties may not have much of an effect. In rate reviews, we have sought to lower revenues for utilities in Belize. BWS is a good example, but the government routinely supports BWS financially, so if we impose any financial penalty, there is no real impact because the company is already receiving financial support from the government, and that covers anything that we can do.
So what powers, if any, does the Public Utilities Commission have in addressing these systematic failures?
The impression we get from people is that they believe the PUC can pick up a phone and instruct utilities what to do. That isn't the case. Utilities are private companies with private investors, and they have a lot of protection under the law, just like any other business, any other person in this country. They have the natural rights, they have all of these things that must be respected in dealing with them. And so although the law gives the PUC power to issue orders or directives or these other things, none of these processes can be accomplished in less than 6 weeks. So there is nothing available to the PUC to put any immediate enforcement action on anyone. That is just strictly how the law is written. The regime intended that the government set policies, the PUC enforce, and the utility is supposed to implement.
Going back to the financial losses, it is expected that when the final tally comes in, Caulker would have lost in excess of $1 million in revenue from the many cancellations resulting from the water and electricity crisis.
I want you guys to actually understand the impact of what this week has done to Caulker as a brand, as well as to all of the shareholders in that brand. We did a small survey of businesses, and we had 20 of those businesses write back to us, and the impact of just this week monetarily was in the $60,000 range. That's 20 businesses. Now, when you consider there's 650 businesses on this island, you're talking $1 million.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isana Cayetano.
During this morning's Stakeholders Forum, PUC Chairman John Avery commented on the inconsequential effect of imposing a fine on either of the two utility companies. Given the fact that government is the majority shareholder in both BWS and BEL, would a financial penalty for dropping the ball really affect their bottom line? According to Avery, it would be no more than a slap on the wrist, despite the scale of losses for investors on the island. While that may be so, CEO John Mencia says that BEL is not being pampered and spoiled by government. Here's how that brief exchange went.
I had meant to address this matter that was brought up by the PUC chairman. It is not true that BL is protected by the government in any way, shape, or form from penalties. BL is not mollycoddled at all. The fact of not raising the rates, because the way it was put just now, is as if we are not raising the rates because somehow the government will step in and help us. That is not true. We don't get any loans from the government. They give guarantees because the international financial institutions require those guarantees. But BL stands on its own 2 feet because, of course, we depend on our customers. So you were talking about 12.5% and so on, stakeholder investment. Well, it's 100% that we depend on you all, our customers. So that is what drives us. And that is why we would not want to increase electricity rates.
I will clarify one in there. No, we're not fighting. I just want to clarify in case anyone else have the wrong impression. All I'm saying, the point I was making is a small financial penalty that the PUC can impose may not have the desired effect when, for example, BL right now is foregoing recovery of tens of millions of dollars. That was simply the point I was making. I was not saying it was government who is gonna carry BL.
The new year did not start well for two Belize City families. Their houses on Flamboyant Street were destroyed by a fire that spread quickly, gutting the two wooden structures. As many as 8 persons are displaced, and a mother of 3 is clinging to life at the KHMH. Elena Reyna was sound asleep when the fire broke. Luckily, neighbors were able to get her out of the burning house. Here is News 5's Dwayne Moody with this report.
A mother of 3 is in a critical condition inside the intensive care unit of the KHMH after receiving burns to almost 50% of her body. Elena Reyna was sleeping inside a wooden house in Flamboyant Street when a fire erupted. News 5 understands that Reyna frequently visited with the owner of the primary structure, who was not at home at the time of the fire. Luckily, persons from within the same residence attempted to put out the fire, and that's how Reyna survived the inferno.
We're waiting to the result from the doctor and what he's going to tell us to know exactly what's going to happen, right? What is the real plan? Because I don't know exactly, but my sister told me this morning that we know that they're waiting that they got 50% burning on her body. So after this, I don't know. I just have a wait.
But we never noticed that she on the bed neither. So now when we see she on the bed, he see she foot, he dash water upon her, so she get up. But when she get up, you know how when just get up from sleep. You know, dizzy, she me dizzy a little bit, then he's still there on the bed, but then when you know that the fire, you get up and walk, come out, but then the whole place just get up fire.
So she had been burnt though?
Yes, sir. You burn bad, the skin peel off, I think.
20-year-old Michael Bowen was sleeping in an adjacent wooden structure which later caught fire and was also destroyed. He says he was awakened by his cousin and quickly tried to put out the fire, which according to him started at 3 different spots in the house.
And my cousin called me and tell me if I don't smell where the burn, so I come outside and I look in the house over there. I see 3 fire, 1 by the table, 1 by the bed and 1 by the chair. So I holler for him, the next man live next door, Mr. Greg, that fire, and then me and he try out the one out the 2 by the table and the chair, but the 1 by the bed, just me back out.
The second bungalow house is owned by Fallon Gamboa, who was at work at the time of the blaze. She says she had left home around 2 p.m. and 2 hours later, she got the distress call. Everything, including recently purchased household items, were destroyed in the blaze.
They called me 4:30, tell me that the house was on fire. Because my daughter was the one who alerted the next young man that stays with me, Michael Bowen. Everything damaged, for his house, total, everything. My one, I just fix up like what I said for Christmas, paint everything gone. Bed, chair, everything. My baby just get some brand new stuff, like I said, tablet, phone, everyone left everything when they traumatized. Everything. Nothing not safe, nothing. And when I come from work, and yes, the fire they on, but I still gone in there to try see what I could have try take out the clothes and different things, but then don't burn up. Everything.
Mom, how do you recover?
I can't say, because like I tell you, I don't know how I stand up on the garden. My whole inside hurt me from last night. Whole inside, I tell you, I didn't sleep. I get up from like after 3 this morning, still there up right now.
2 of the 3 structures were totally damaged as a result of the fire. We learned that the 2 buildings housed 8 different people or 8 different family members. Unfortunately, 1 female that was resting in the primary house where the fire started from, she sustained fire damage to approximately 40% of her body in varying degrees.
But the origin of the fire is still unknown because the investigation so far has ruled out arson and faulty electrical wiring as the cause. Station Supervisor Kenneth Mortis explains.
The investigation isn't concluded as yet. It's a bit out of the norm, so to speak. There are certain aspects that we can rule out, whereby we can rule out arson attempt, we can rule out cooking, we can rule out those sorts of things. You know, it's still ongoing as we speak, and I'm hoping that before the day is over, we can definitely conclude by saying the fire started as a result of this.
Anyone who would like to assist can contact Gamboa at 631-1281. Dwayne Moody for News 5.
New Year's Day is usually a time for celebration and a day to look forward to exciting things in the year ahead. But for one family in Cotton Tree Village, 2020 began with an unexpected misfortune. A fire destroyed the family home and they lost just about everything inside. Here's the story with Andrea Polanco.
A fire destroyed the home of the Samosa family in Cotton Tree Village on New Year's Day. The fire reportedly started around 1 that afternoon. The occupants were at another property in the village. Only one family member was outside in the yard when he saw flames inside the house. Today, Diana Samosa says it was an electrical fire.
The fireman says that the electric wires were too thin and we had too much. We had a freezer connected and a refrigerator connected, and too much things were connected.
Before this, you guys didn't notice any little spark, any smoke, nothing at all. The wires didn't give an indication before.
Well, actually, we may have internet here, and the box about 2 times went wrong, and then the 31st, I called the box again because it gave me trouble, and they say maybe it's an electrical problem, but I didn't pay attention.
The family lost almost everything except for 2 appliances that they managed to save before the fire destroyed their home. The Samosas say that their life's savings built this house 10 years ago and that they've lived here ever since. 11 persons resided here, 4 adults and 7 children.
Well, actually, I don't know the value because 2 families live here. Me and my husband, my mom and her husband. We lost everything inside. Microwaves, beds, our rooftop, everything.
According to the family, the fire tore through the house quickly, but with their neighbors' help, they contained it.
We all out of the fire. We had some neighbors helping. We had other neighbors standing and watching. But we mostly got help. Thanks to our neighbors, we got help. We could have out of the fire. Why the fire department come? We can have the fire under control. They just came to help and out it off.
We out the fire in time. Whereas she would have stayed with our house too, because she's just trying to make her house too. But everything in there was mine and her store, so closet and everything in there, the clothes.
And now the family needs roofing materials to rebuild from this fire. Today, they're most thankful that no one was hurt.
The bad New Year's were gone. Bad luck. It could have been worse. I got my kids. My daughter is 1, my son is 2. If they would have get chopped in the fire, I don't know. I thought my kids were inside, so I just jumped into the fire. My husband grabbed me and pulled me out. Then he told me the kids are not there.
I thank God nothing bad happened to the kids, so I tell her don't worry about it. Material thing, but right now we really need assistance on the roof. So.
Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
The Samosas say they received some relief from NEMO as well as UDP standard bearer Ramon Witz. If you'd like to help the family, you're asked to call 629-9509 or 602-7434. As you just heard, the family lost all their belongings in the blaze. They're now in need of roofing materials and other items to rebuild their lives. The fire was caused by faulty electrical wires, and the fire department says that families need to do more to safeguard their property when it comes to using electrical cords for power. Here's more from Kenneth Mortis of the fire department.
We have investigated and concluded that that fire was as a result of an electrical flaw, which stemmed from faulty extension cords and damaged and exposed electrical wiring.
What kind of precautions should people take? Because it's not the first time that we're hearing about fires being caused by these faulty electrical cords.
The fire department has always tried to emphasize the importance of taking that extra expense when it comes to extension cords. We try our best to detour family members from using what we refer to as the flimsy extension cord, which you can buy at the normal grocery for about $7. You know, you want to protect your property, you want to protect your belongings, then you make the extra effort and buy the heavy-duty extension cord that is rated to withstand additional extension cords coming from off the main drop. So it's a basic sense of how far you want to go in preserving and protecting versus how lackadaisical you want to be in not taking the steps to make proper adjustment to protect your belongings.
The Belize National Teachers Union is starting the new year with a bang. calling on its membership to wear their Teachers Got Your Back t-shirts on Monday when classes resume to show their disapproval to the ministry's proposal to amend the education rules. According to BNTU National President Senator Elena Smith, the Ministry of Education's proposed amendment covers all vacation periods, giving the Chief Education Officer the sole power to determine those periods as well as the school calendar.
As you are aware, we are going through the ministry has done some amendments, proposed amendments to the education rules. One to our vacation period, one to contracts, and then one to emergency vacancies. And our members are not satisfied with the vacation period because, as you are aware, the change was made to the Christmas break. However, the amendment would be covering all the vacation periods and would now be giving the chief now as the sole person to determine the vacation periods and the school calendar. And so our members are not happy with that, and they have not accepted that. And so we have not gotten the final document to see what it says, but that is the position. And so because of that, and our members are not in support, we are asking them to support us as we move forward with this matter by wearing the green shirts on Monday. So it's our first action, start of our action for the year 2020. As we proceed with other matters, we may have to, take further actions as they become necessary.
Coming up, the Attorney General says he wants the evidence following the New Year's message from the leader of the opposition, John Briceño. Attorney General Michael Parafit has responded to assertions made by opposition leader John Briceño in his New Year's address, during which he states that the endless landings of drug planes around the country are directly tied to ranking members of the United Democratic Party. In his capacity as government's chief legal officer, Parafit challenges the PUP party leader to bring forth the evidence he purportedly has or risk running himself into libel or slander. The AG says the allegation is damning and threatens to damage the reputation of all government officials, despite not being named. The party leader has been given 24 hours to come forward with the proof.
It seems like we have become so accustomed to irresponsible comments by people, and in the age of social media, almost immune to them. But when words come from the leader of the opposition for Belize, the person who wants to be prime minister, the person who would be prime minister if the PUP were to win in the elections, when you have irresponsible comments coming from him, it's a dangerous thing. The leader of the opposition said that he has credible information, which is evidence of UDP officials high up in the government who are facilitating the landing of drug planes. Now, if that is true and you have information on that, why would you sit on that information? If you have that information, then produce that information. Because if you don't have that information, then what you're saying is extremely libelous, and that's utter slander. I mean, that is a serious, serious thing to say on national television and as a part of your message from the PUP. Now, I am giving the leader of the opposition 24 hours to provide that information. If he doesn't provide that information, then I have to call him a liar. And I will have to say that you cannot believe a word that this man says if he's going to say something like that and not produce the evidence. You are casting aspersions on a number of different people who are for sure not involved in any illegal activity. So for you to paint the senior officials in the UDP with that broad brush without any evidence at all, that is just outrageous.
According to the Attorney General, the fact that Briceño stopped short of naming names does not exempt him from libel and slander. He goes on to say that if the party leader does not trust anyone in the country with the evidence he has, then he can present it to an external organization such as CARICOM, Interpol, or the EU.
He may want to say, well, I don't want to provide it to the police. They're corrupt. I don't want to provide it to you, the Attorney General, because that's your government, or the DPP. So then provide it to somebody. Provide it to the media, unless you don't trust anybody in the country. And if you don't trust anybody in the country, why would you want to be Prime Minister of this country? Or put it to CARICOM, put it to Interpol, put it to the DEA, put it to the European Union, anybody. If you have evidence that high UDP officials are facilitating the landing of drug planes in this country, you need to, if you're going to say that, then you better have evidence of that. And that is something, like I say, you can't say that without having that information ready for the public. And I am putting to leader of the opposition, you need to provide that information to the public within 24 hours, or his credibility, whatever is left of it, will be completely shot. And that's my view on that.
Nonetheless, he stopped short of calling names or pointing the fingers at any one individual. Would this be perhaps his legal cover for the commentary that he made in that regard?
No, I would say he has opened himself up very wide, because then when you don't specifically mention a person, then the inference is that he can be anybody. It can be me, it can be the Prime Minister, it can be anybody.
The Supreme Court's January session is set to begin later this month on the 13th. But in the year ahead, the bench is facing a void. At next week's sitting, Cabinet is expected to hold discussions on major movements in the judiciary. First, Chief Justice Kenneth Benjamin is reaching retirement age, and so is Justice Courtney Abel, whose contract is coming to an end. Thirdly, Justice Shona Griffith is moving on to the Barbados Supreme Court. So what does this mean for the Supreme Court? Off record, we're told that a decision has not been made, but 2 justices could be requested to remain on the bench at the High Court. Today, 4 persons were arraigned in the Belmopan Magistrate Court for the New Year's Day attack on Police Constable Edgar Teul. The foursome includes Guatemalan national Migdael Gonzalez, as well as Belizeans Irvin Cal, Magdaleno Cal, and Abelino Cal. Magdaleno and Abelino were charged with attempted murder, while Migdael and Irvin are facing charges of aggravated assault. PC Teul was at a football match on the Mayamopan football field when he was chopped as he attempted to break up a fight. He remains in an induced coma in the hospital. The violent attack was captured on video. Attorney Hurl Hamilton represents 3 of the men.
Magdaleno and Abelino has been charged with attempt murder and use of deadly means of harm. Irvin Cal has been charged with aggravated assault in relation to the incident that happened in Belize City where a police officer was injured. You know, there's a video circulating on social media, albeit that some of the videos are cut short. But suffice to say that they're saying they're innocent of whatever charges the police have proffered against them. And suffice to say that they acted in self-defense. Those were my brief instructions.
Sir, was there any sort of objection to bail? Did you argue against those objections?
Well, the magistrate, the learned magistrate, is unable to grant bail in relation to attempt murder. As it relates to the aggravated assault in terms of Irvin Cal, I would assume that the magistrate was of the view that perhaps all of these offenses, alleged offenses, occurred out of the same alleged set of facts. So I would presume that's the reason why the magistrate decided not to grant bail to all 3 of them.
The men are scheduled to return to court on March 26th for the next hearing. Police need your assistance in locating the family of this young boy. He is Joviel Zetina. He was found early this morning in the DFC area of San Pedro and handed over to the Human Services Department. Joviel communicates only in Spanish and had on him a bag containing his clothes. Authorities are of the view that he was abandoned. Anyone with information on his family can call Eldon Simpson at Human Services at 615-5401 or the San Pedro Police Station at 206-2022. After the break, the countdown for the UDP convention is on. We'll tell you how the chairmanship campaign is shaping up. The leadership race for the United Democratic Party continues to intensify as the date for the National Convention draws nearer. Contesting the post for chairman is Michael Parafit. The Attorney General, a ranking member of the party, has lost on previous occasions in several attempts to become an elected area representative. This time, he's offering himself as candidate for chairmanship, but will be facing several other hopefuls to fill that vacancy. This evening, we asked Parafit for an update on his campaign efforts with delegates of the UDP.
Well, the campaign steps up now. It's just over a month that remains, and so everybody has to be on all cylinders, firing on all cylinders to ensure that we can reach the delegates and convince them that we are the proper people to hold the positions that we're campaigning for. I'm going for chairman. I believe I will make a good chairman. And so as we see the delegates over the next month and the next couple of weeks, we have to make that pitch, and hopefully, if I would be so fortunate, they could elect me to be chairman of the UDP.
How different is this time around, considering the fact that on previous occasions you've offered yourself for public office and have been unsuccessful? You're offering yourself now for the chairmanship of the ruling party. Is there anything different in terms of your approach or the reception of the delegates towards your campaign?
No, well, the reception has been great so far for the chairmanship. The difference is when you're going for a constituency, you have to convince people, the UDPs who live within that particular constituency, to vote for you, to represent them.
2 letters were dispatched today to the government and people of Taiwan. One was from the acting Prime Minister, Patrick Faber, to the President of Taiwan, and the other was from Minister of National Security, John Saldivar, to Taiwan's ambassador in Belize. Now, as you know, the two will go head-to-head in February for the leadership of the UDP. But today, both sent off prime ministerial messages in the name of the people and government of Belize on the same matter. It involves the loss of life of the Chief of the General Staff of Ministry of National Defense, General Shen Yi-ming, and other high-ranking military officers. The officers were killed in a helicopter accident. Faber extends solidarity and support to the grieving nation and offers condolences to the families of those who perished in the Black Hawk accident. Saldivar also extends support for Taiwan and its military and calls that country one of Belize's greatest allies. As we understand it, the protocol is that one speaks on behalf of the government and people while the other should address his counterparts. Attorney General Michael Parafit has also weighed in on a recent decision by the Court of Appeal to uphold the ruling of the Supreme Court in respect of the Section 53 of the Criminal Code. According to the AG, he needs to brief Cabinet at Tuesday's meeting before a decision on a subsequent appeal to the Caribbean Court of Justice will be pursued.
The Court of Appeal having given a decision, basically, as you know, they interpreted sex to mean not just gender but sexual orientation. They disagree with the Chief Justice in that the Chief Justice actually wanted to add a sentence to the legislation. The Court of Appeal said that that's for the legislature, that's not for the courts. So what we have currently is the Court of Appeal saying that sex involves sexual orientation. In other words, then saying that it is now legal on the books for same-sex sex in the privacy of your own home between 2 consenting adults. That's what the law is currently based on what the Court of Appeal has said. We have 42 days to appeal the decision. Naturally, I have to brief Cabinet on Tuesday as to what the court said, and then the government will make a decision as to whether or not it would just accept the Court of Appeal's interpretation or go to the CCJ for the Apex Court to make a final decision on the matter. And then once the CCJ pronounces on it, then we would have to accept whatever interpretation that they give.
When we come back, the BNTU pushes for the implementation of UNCAC and the Senate report on the immigration inquiry.
Now is the time to sign.
Members of BNTU's Corozal Branch and National President Senator Elena Smith met with the Chief Executive Officer for the Ministry of Education this afternoon in Belize City. The meeting revolved around a disputed property in Corozal town. The property in question is known as Teacher's Site, and the Ministry of Education was scheduled to hold a groundbreaking ceremony for a new preschool. But when word got out, the Corozal branch reacted, stating that the land is owned by teachers of the Northern Housing Co-op for many years. In response, MOE said it had acquired a portion of that land after it determined that it was Crown land and that the BNTU does not have a lease or a title for the land, even though it has been paying taxes. According to Senator Smith, while the lease expired in 2005, the Teachers Co-op still holds the property since the co-op was never liquidated. Smith says that CEO Deborah Domingo will not take the information to the minister for determination on the ministry's next step.
What the branch has done today is to meet with the CEO to present to her documents that they have, lease documents and other documents that they have to show that they have been maintaining the property and that they have been paying taxes on the property, and to see what would be the position of the ministry now that they have received these documents. The co-op is still alive and active. It has not been liquidated, so in essence the land as we understand it still belongs to the co-op.
When I first spoke to an MOU official, she told me that the BNT or the co-op doesn't have a lease or title to that particular piece of land.
Well, the lease indeed had expired, but as we are aware, there's a process that that has to happen to liquidate the co-op, and so when that process happens, then it would be after that process that then the land then would then revert to government and then become Crown land. That process has not been done. The co-op is still active and alive, still registered. So Based on that, then we were informed that the land, even though the lease has expired, is still really under the COPE because of the process that it has to take, and that process has, as I said, hasn't been carried through.
When did the lease expire?
In 2005, I believe, but up to 2016, 2017, the branch still was paying taxes on those properties.
How was that possible in terms of paying taxes today?
2007, correct, right? 2007?
To the Corozal Town Council?
Well, the taxes were being paid to the government.
Okay.
And not to the Corozal Town Council. So that's a question that we also posed to the CEO as well. How is it that if it is that the lease was not valid still, or was not recognized, how is it that they were able to accept monies from the COPE to say that they were paying taxes for the property?
It's the start of the new year, and UDP Senator Aldo Salazar has yet to present his draft report relating to the passport scandal. Senator Salazar chaired the year-long hearings of the inquiry carried out by the Senate Special Select Committee into the findings of the Auditor General's Special Audit Report on the Immigration and Nationality Department. It's been more than 2 years since the inquiry culminated in December 2017, and a report is yet to be furnished to the committee. Attorney Andrea McSweeney was contracted to assist the process, but it is the responsibility of the chair to complete a report. Senator for the Unions, Elena Smith, says that Senator Salazar has promised once again to complete the report soon.
I spoke to the chairman when we had a last Senate meeting just recently in December, and asked or tried to impress upon him the need for us to quickly move forward with that report. And so he has promised that he will complete the report as soon as possible, hopefully by this month, so that then we can meet and then review his draft and make a decision on whether we'll accept it or we'll add more stuff to what he has presented.
We have heard that promise before.
I know, but it's in the hands of the chairman. So we await his final report or his final draft, and then we can give input on that. So he has promised that he'll work on it, and so I will trust that he will do so.
Are you concerned that it's taking so long?
Well, yes, we are concerned, but at the end of the day, there's a process, and so we cannot circumvent that process in terms of us as other members of the committee. The rules are very clear that the chairman presents the draft report, and then we go from there. So we have been pushing. It might not be in the public, but we have been pushing him, to see how quickly we can work on that and get that out, because it's not fair that we have taken so much time to go through that, all of the questioning, all of the documentation, and not being able to present a report. It's going to look bad really on all of us, and specifically the chairman, if we cannot present a report, especially noting that election coming up soon. People might want to think that, we are holding it back because of election, that kind of thing. So the ball is in the chairman's court, and we await his presentation.
In 2016, the government signed the United Nations Convention Against Corruption after tremendous pressure was placed by the powerful Belize National Teachers Union and the private sector. It has been more than 2 years, and UNCAC has yet to be fully implemented. The sense is that the government hasn't done much in moving the process forward. Just recently, the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the National Trade Union Congress of Belize, and the Belize Network of NGOs sent Prime Minister Dean Barrow a letter reminding him of Belize's commitment when it ratified UNCAC. Attorney General Michael Parafit told the media in December that the UN informed the government that no further engagements in any process to further UNCAC or any projects should be made until a full report is made available. The BNTU, however, is determined to push the government further this year to see the full implementation of UNCAC.
I'm not sure as to how much we are pushing as a government to ensure that things move quickly. And that is our concern, because while we are not in the position, we feel that there's a little bit more that we could do as a country, as a government, to ensure that we speed up this process. Yes, it costs, money is involved, but we can find money for other things. So I'm sure if this is of interest to us, then we would find, be able to find the money to ensure that we do the implementation as is planned, or as was planned.
The Attorney General has said that the process is going the way it should.
Yeah, but slowly. I mean, so I know that whenever you question things or whenever you make comments, the AG is quick to jump on you and make a lot of comments. But at the end of the day, this is for benefit of our country. This is not about the age or the NTUCB or the BNTU. It's about country. And so I think that we have to do our endeavor best to push and to ensure that the process goes as best as it could and as quickly as it can.
Maybe the process is taking a bit long because the AG's office is overwhelmed with other works from the Contractor General's office.
Possibly, we raised a matter to him, but you know the AG, he's going to say that is not so. People know otherwise. So hopefully that is not the reason, but if it is, then what is in the dark will come to light.
Do you believe that in 2020 the BNTU will need to push or nod the government a bit further?
I do believe so, and not just the BNTU, but the NTUCB. As I said, it has been turned over to NTUCB, so it's time for NTUCB to now, continue to carry that mantle that BNTU started. If it is that we have to act, and our members say that we must act, then we will do so. We move when our members say to move, and so it depends on what our members say. But a lot of things that we have pushed for, UNCAC, PAC, Integrity Commission, some of these things are not operating the way they should, and really and truly, it doesn't seem as if anybody is looking into those things and truly ensuring that those things work the way they should. So if it is that nobody has the strength or the will to do what we did in 2016, then we might have to come out and do what we do best. You never know.
Coming up after the break, KHMH, a certified baby-friendly medical facility.
Making proper
On Thursday, we introduced you to a set of babies born on the 1st at the Carl Hickman Memorial Hospital for 2020, 5 to be exact, which included a pair of twin boys. There are still outstanding numbers from the other public health facilities in the districts, as well as private hospitals, as to the total number of babies born in 2019. But the statistics on childbirths for the past year at the KHMH show that over 2,000 babies are born annually. 55% are delivered by surgery. Communications Manager at the KHMH, Tylen Tillett, shares some details.
That means that you will not find anything in the hospital that is related to feeding a child with only breast. Breast is what we promote. If you look behind me, we have all our breastfeeding signs. Our entire staff is trained in how to do breastfeeding. The attendants, the guys around here, the nurses, everybody, all 650 persons has gone through a training to certify us for this breastfeeding concept. So that is what we push, so you won't find any products in here that is related to after feeding artificially.
But what in terms of special cases, because I think most, if not all mothers would
automatically opt for breastfeeding. But there are mothers who maybe don't lactate as much and mothers who the babies aren't latching on. What do you do in those cases?
In those cases, there are different methods to address that. We still do breastfeeding, however, it might be by cup feeding. So the milk is expressed and the breast milk is still given to the baby via a different method if there is an issue. You understand me? So after the child leaves this facility, if for some reason a situation still occurs that the child needs additional help, then that happens outside of here. But here, we have different methods to still get the breast milk to the child.
Still on the matter of babies, at the maternity ward of the Carl Lichter Memorial Hospital, there are posters and signs promoting the importance of breastfeeding. So much so that the institution has been certified as a baby-friendly medical facility, and all members of the medical staff at the National Referral Hospital have undergone training in best practices for breastfeeding. Communications Manager Tylen Tillett says the campaign is still about breast is best.
At last count, we estimated that over 2,000 babies are born at the KHMH per year. 55% of those births are by C-section. Being the National Referral Hospital and the nature of what we do, if there is a difficult pregnancy out in the district, they are ambulated here or they are referred to here during the process of registration. So if you're a mother that is going to have a high-risk pregnancy, you will naturally be referred to the KHMH. So that's what put our numbers at that height at 55% by C-sections per year.
And that's the news. Don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, have a happy and safe weekend. Good night.